Koroloyum, Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, Brakati Hawa, Brakati Hawashi, Brakati Hawa, Brakati Hawashi, Brakati Hawa, Brakati Hawashi. Double honors to the apostles and others of great millstone who rule well. Shalom and salutations, you brothers out here pushing words of truth and sincerity. I'm Rabbi Mob. It's 2 a.m, 2:30. Spirit jumped on me to go live. And I'm gonna keep my voice down, being that I got some people in the crib and not trying to be rude, but still gotta make moves, Y'all brothers know what I'm talking about. So I was laying down and just dealing with Hebrews, the first chapter. And I'm gonna get into what how far I got here. And Shalom. This is Hebrews, the first chapter. It says Yahweh's final word in his son. His final word in his son. And then it gives you as a reference John 1:1-4. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahawah, and the Word was a power. Now, when you go into the understanding, right, Yahawashi was a power. He was with the power. All right, the word God in the Greek, in the Hebrew, Allah, which means power. Allahaya means powers. So there's multiple powers, but there's one supreme power. And in the beginning was the word. And Yahawashi is the word. That's why it's capitalized. It looks different. It's like a title. So he's also known as the word. And the word was with Yahawah, or Salakia, with the power, which is Yahawah. And the word was a power. So that could be confusing to a lot of people who's out here claiming that God is Jesus and Jesus is God, or God is Yahawashi, and they're the same. They're united. They're united, but separate. One's a father, one's a son. But Yahawashi was created, and he was at one point in time alone with the Father, Yahawah. And the Word was a power, so he was a power himself. The same was in the beginning with Yahawah, all right, with the power, the supreme power. So we know that there was two entities there, Yahawah and Yahawashi. All things were made by him, because Yahawah, the Father, gave Yahawashi the blueprint to start building and creating the worlds, the universes, man, Genesis, everything we read about. And without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and life was the light of men. And here we go, understanding. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So you got to consider family members made by Yahawashi. Other people of your family, of your nationality, made by Yahawashi. The enemy, created by Yahawashi, made by him, planned out by the Father, Yahawah. That was the first construction, pretty much the first construction job, for lack of better words, was Yahawashi, building and creating the worlds. So Hebrews 1:1. So we know that the Most High speaks to his son, but we got to familiarize ourselves with that. Yahawah, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past. I'm just pulling up some. Okay. Yahawah, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets. If you don't understand that, you would go into the ways written. You would go into translation and look at the NLT. Long ago, Yahawah spoke many times and in many ways to our ancestors through the prophets. Through the prophets. That's how he spoke to our ancestors, through the prophets, who are men. There's a fallacy and a misbelief that God don't do anything through man. That's man. That's man alone. Man acts alone every time. Oh, how do we have Yahawashi? who came in the fashion of a man, lower than an angel. How do we reference anybody in the scriptures? How do we reference the scriptures at all? If it's all man, it's all written by man, it's all spoken by man. But understanding is the Most High speaks through, and many times before, and in many ways, sometimes a vision, sometimes a dream. Sometimes he'll have a angel visit that man, as he did Abba Bivens, I believe. It says to our ancestors, all right, our progenitors, the Israelites. That's why all these names in the scriptures are Israelite people. Obadiah, Jeremiah, Luke, John, Yahawashi. It says through the prophets. So we understand Obadiah, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel. This the Most High speaking through them. It says, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son. So this time he spoke to us by Yahawashi through his Son, the one that he created in the beginning, that was with him from John 1:1, the Word, whom he hath appointed heir of all things. Now we're going to get into some interlinear to prove these words and get a concept or a visual, aka of what the Most High is doing here. So the heir, Yahawashi is the heir, the one who receives Balat. And Balat, if I can get it here, what they mean is a large number or amount, a great deal. But also the word lot means to divide into lots for sale. One set of objects, straws, apply a person's luck or condition. A person's luck or condition in life, particularly as determined by fate or destiny. Someone's fate, someone's destiny, someone's fortune. So by fortune will have it that Yahawashi was the heir. It says in Messianic usage, one who receives his allotted possession by right of sonship. By right of sonship. You're going back into, now let's go back. Now that we know he has a possession that's going to be appointed to him. It says, whom he hath appointed heir, meaning one who is in the position to receive the possession of all things. So right here, in this alone, you can deduct, right? And let me get that word deduce, because this is what you have to do when it comes to the scriptures. You have to deduce. Once you hear something, you can't just let it pass over. You have to deduce. Arrive at a fact or a conclusion by reasoning to draw a logical conclusion. To conclude, in conclusion, to work out, to reason. So all of this is deductions we making by what we're reading. And Hebrews 1:2 again, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir, which means one who receives the possession by fate of all things. So we can deduce that Yahawashi will eventually be given all things just as an heir, even though he's a child. When he becomes old enough, he will be given the throne, similar to what you saw with the Queen Elizabeth of England, the false queen, passing away and giving her throne, if you will, to her son, George or William. And then his heir gets the throne. This is how heirship works. Sonship works, which is a passing down of power, a passing down of possessions. Right? So we know the Most High, the Father, is passing it down to his Son. And that's why he's known as the Son. What is it? Another title for Yahawashi, the Son. Son of Man, or the Son. It said that's why in Psalms it says, kiss the Son, lest he be angry with you. That's a royal thing, right? When you kiss the ring of the king, it says, by whom also he made the worlds. Now we go and check it out. He made the worlds. All right. And then you go into the interlinear, you find out which worlds is it talking about. Right? We know he made the universe already. The world's universe, but there's a great connection between world, a physical world, or a physical universe, and periods of times, ages, right? Something called a Messianic period or age. Now, the world, the connection between the physical worlds and the periods of times or time itself is that the worlds can tell the time. What happens on the world is telling you the time. What happens in real life is showing you the time. The scripture says measure the time. And the way you do that is by measuring the events in which you see in real life, in real time. What's going on in the world? What stage are we at in this world? Because there are something called a period of time, an age, ages, age of the dinosaurs, age of the Iron Age, the Dark Ages. This is the age of Esau, Edom. So when they asked the Lord, will you establish the kingdom back to Israel? They were asking, when is the end of that age? When they asked the Lord, when are the ends of the world in Matthew 24? They were asking, when is the end of that age? Period of rulership, period of time, from a rise and a fall of one king to the next. So you can also tell the time by the physical world when you look up at the stars and the sun and all the celestial objects out there in space. What you do is man created a sundial, tell you what time of day it was, right? With the sundial, the physical universe telling you a time. We also know the Sabbath or based on the new moon. The month is where you get the word month from moon, and you can deduce or conclude what time of the month you're in based on what cycle the moon is in. If it's a half moon, you're halfway through the month, so forth and so on. No, actually, a full moon is halfway through the month. A half moon is a quarter way, depending on if it's the right half or the left half. It might be 3/4. But you arrive at a fact or conclusion by reasoning from the scriptures, helping you understand, okay, Yahawashi is to be given all things. He's to be given everything. And then it says, and might as well grab some verses on that. Appointed, just to familiarize, because a lot of people don't understand why we worship Yahawashi. They think that's idolatry. They call Yahawashi. They starting to call him different words. I forget the name. They got a word for that. Idol shy, I think. Well, Hebrews 2:8, thou hast put all things in subjection under his feet. The Most High is the one who, once again with the title of the video, the Most High, Yahawah, makes Yahawashi his right hand. Makes Yahawashi his right hand. Let's go back into it says thou hast put all things in subjection, meaning under the rule of his feet. All things. Man, kingdoms. It says, for in that he put all in subjection under him. He left nothing that is not put under him. But now we see not yet all things put under him. But we see Yahawashi, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of his death. And that's the age for our people right now. Dealing with Baruch, the 4th chapter. Let's see if I could grab Baruch 4. It gives you an understanding that we are here as a period of judgment rather than glory. We're here for our suffering, just like Yahawashi was. We're no greater. The servant isn't greater than the master. He suffered and we will too. Baruch 4:6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved Yahawah to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto idols, and not to Yahawah. Ye have forgotten the everlasting power that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. For when she saw the wrath of Yahawah coming upon you, she said, Hearken, O ye that dwell about Zion. Yahawah hath brought upon me great mourning, for I saw this captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. And so we understand that the Most High sent his son to also suffer, but to suffer in a particular way, to bear the iniquities and the burdens of Israel. Let's keep going. Crowned with glory and honor, right? Because he completed his task. He was successful in his task. While everybody's worrying about setting up generational wealth, Yahawashi came to complete the task for the Father. He was what's the word? Locked in. He was, focused on the task at hand. You always got to refer back to what is your lot in the body, not in the world. You're a farmer, you're a fisherman. Paul was a tent maker. But what is your lot in the world? Yahawashi was a carpenter. Peter was a fisherman. What's your lot in the truth? And he fulfilled it above all else. It says that he, by the grace of Yahawah, should taste death for every man. And that was his lot. That he would be given everything, but he had to taste death for every man. He had to be that sacrifice, suffer the death, and then be crowned with the glory. Psalms 2:6. Yet I have set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. What does that mean? How do you what do you deduce from that? What do you arrive at? What conclusion do you arrive at by reasoning with these scriptures? Yet in the Old Testament, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. Well, that means who that king is controls Zion. And Zion controls the world, because this is about to be the world of Israel, Israel's world, Israel world order. The true biblical Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Verse 7, I will declare the decree. Meaning it will be publicized as fact, not opinion. A decree is a serious thing. A decree. What's a decree? Like a ruling, a statute, an ordinance, a limit, something prescribed, due, prescribed portion, his prescribed portion. All right. It's like a prescription. So you get a prescription, you can't deviate from that prescription. When you get a task, you can't deviate from that task. You can't tell your boss, look, I know you told me to do A, B, and C, but I did D and E. You're going to get fired. When you go to the doctor and he tells you, here's your prescription, here's the portion you need to take, which is on the label, and you're going to take 500, he's not at fault for that. You deviated from the prescription. The prescription, or what's being prescribed here, is that Yahawashi is going to be the king of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee. You know what happens when you claimed as a son? You get the lot of the heir, and the heir gets the possession and the inheritance. It says, Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. Once again, familiarize yourself. Whenever you see inheritance, think heirship, sonship, lordship, future tense, future prophecy. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, meaning you, the king, my son, in the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So that means everything under the earth, once again, will belong to Yahawashi. When you hear possession, think heirship, think sonship. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So, what can you deduce from this? That the Most High is going to come back wrathful, with vengeance, not as he came the first time, humble as a lamb, to take back possession, not to ask for it. Isaiah 9:6, this is all helping us deduce, come to the conclusion by reasoning that Yahawah the Father gave Yahawashi everything from the beginning. Isaiah 9:6, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. What government? Zion. Zion's a government. It's a people, but it's also a government. You got a top body that governs over every people. That's what Amalek governs over the rest of Esau. It says, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government, in peace there shall be no end. It's an everlasting government, rulership. See, ages used to be periods of time. This age will be infinite. Big difference here between infinite and period of time. America, Babylon, Mystery Babylon, a period of time. Rome, a period of time to rule. Greece, Egypt, a period of time. Israel, future government of Israel, limitless, endless, infinite. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. I mean, if you don't understand it, let's get it in the NLT. His government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity. The passionate commitment of the Lord of heaven's armies will make this happen. Who's the Lord of heaven's armies, or the Lord of Sabaoth? Yahawah the Father, who gives Yahawashi the throne and the kingdom. Isaiah 53:10. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. Right. Yahawashi, who's Yahweh's right-hand man. Yahweh sent Yahawashi and sent him for the mercy and redemption of Israel as his perfect sacrifice. So it did please him because he loves his people. I have loved Jacob and hated Esau, the Lord said. He hath put him to grief when thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin. That's why brothers is grieved. Hey, we smile through it. dance through it, walk through it, talk through it, cry through it. But brothers is grieved because we in this of the same lot of our ancestors, the prophets before us. Too much wisdom is much grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied by his knowledge. Shall my righteous servant justify many. That's the remission of sins. For he shall bear their iniquities. All right. Let's go back now. That point was proven. Back in Hebrews 1 and 3, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person. What is the brightness of his glory? Let's get the word in the Greek, which gives us better understanding. It's a long word here. The long words is usually 2 or more words put together. As you can see in this example, compounds. One is apo. All right. And this is the word brightness, by the way. Let me read the outline. It says reflected brightness. Reflected brightness. We're all bright, but we're all reflected of Yahawashi's brightness and the brightness of Yahawashi. It says of Yahawashi, and that he perfectly reflects the majesty of Yahawah. So we're talking about light here. It says effulgence, which means a brilliant radiance, a shining forth. Brilliant, glowing in appearance. To shine. It's a compound. Fulgere, to shine out. Shine out radiates. A personality that is effulgent radiates warmth and goodness. So you can say that the warmth and the goodness and the radiation from Yahawashi, he was glowing. Figuratively and spiritually and metaphorically and pretty much physically. Shining forth of a light coming from a luminous body, outraying. So he was bright. Figuratively in all sense of the meaning of Yahawashi, and that he perfectly reflects the majesty of Yahawah. So in the Greek, the word is apolgasma. Apogasma. Apo meaning like apocrypha, sent away or off. Separation, right? So he's separate from a separation of apart from a whole, where of a whole some part is taken. So he's part, or he's distant from, in the physical, he's distant from the Lord, but he's a part of the Lord. And there you go. That's the understanding of why he's, his own entity. He's of him, but he's separate from him. We're all of him, both separate from him. Apo, and the second part is ogazo, to beam out, irradiate, to beam upon, exposed to radiation, to be bright. And that's the thing about radiation and light. And light, when it shines upon something too. It illuminates, or it illuminates something else. There's illuminate, then there's illuminate. One's doing the shining, one's getting shined on. Yahawashi was a part of that which shines, which is Yahawah. And he had a super radiancy about him. So much as you can say he was of the same light as Yahawah, the Father, which he was, because it says, who being the brightness of his glory, the Most High's glory, in the express image of his person. What do you mean, express image? Who is this man, right? Look how I say right here in the Greek, character. You already know what that's going into. His character. But let's keep reading. This is where you get character. What's the meaning of it? Where does it come from? It comes from an instrument used for engraving. See, that's where you get the word. That's why a character means who you are. It means your likeness, right? As you see here, it means your style, your character, right? Your attributes, good or bad. But it also is where we use the same word character for letters, right? For letters, A, B, C, those are characters because they're engraved. The original letters were engraved, carved, and then they would print on a printing press out of that carved thing, and you could stamp it. What did it say? The mark stamped upon the instrument. You carved the stamp, and then you would jot it in ink, and then mark it. Boom. But every time you marked it, boom, it was that same engraving, that same imprint. So the Father, his imprint is left on Yahawashi. That's why Yahawashi was known as the likeness, or the exact expression, the image of any person or thing, marked likeness, precise reproduction in every respect, i.e. facsimile, which means exact copy, especially of written or printed material. So figuratively, he's the representation of the Father. That's what it means. He represents the Father. He's a copy of the Father in son form, which means he has the same characteristics as the Father, but he is not the Father. In upholding all things by the word of his power. How did he uphold all things? What do we have for uphold? I proofread these, by the way. Upholding. For the Greek pharaoh. Watch what it say. To carry a burden. We understand a burden. You lift something for it, But watch what it say. To bear up, uphold, keeping from falling. Of Yahawashi, the preserver of the universe. He's upholding Israel, keeping us from falling. Because how did we fall? Didn't the scripture say we had to fall on the way first? We fell away. Now he's upholding us from falling. How can we still fall? By denying him. Denying him, you deny the Father. He came in the image of the Father, in the same brightness of the Father, the express image, not just any. And he also is upholding all things by the word of his power, which means he's keeping it up from falling. When he had, which he also created the universe, you might as well say. When he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. Purged our sins, then sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. Yahawashi is King of Kings, man. He was anointed and appointed that. That is his inheritance. All right. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Gotta be up early. But just wanted to hit with that right there. Shalom to everybody. I brought this out. This was edifying. Until next time, shalom.